Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be interviewing a big part of I think a lot of my generation's childhood in terms of character actors, Sean Gregory Sullivan. You may remember him. He was Phil, the guy who's always drunk in Wayne's World. He was one of Buford Mad Dog Tannen's gang members in Back to the Future Part 3, and he was Suicide in Ski Patrol. Shut up, you idiot! Okay, boss! Yeah, and so I'm going to be interviewing him today. He's also the husband of our good friend Lynn Griffin, and she finally was able to set up an interview with him. And I'm going to be calling him in just a moment, and I can't wait because this guy, he's such a chameleon, and he always had crazy hair in a lot of the roles he played and stuff. And I'm going to be talking to him about it today and stuff. So yeah, here's my interview with Sean Gregory Sullivan.
Hello.
Hello, Sean. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am pretty well today. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good, I have to say. It's such an honor because when I was growing up watching movies, you were always that guy with a funny hairstyle.
Yeah, I tended to have crazy hair. It's like, well, actually, the way that all came about was when I moved to LA. I was doing a solo play,
Mm-hmm.
and I had completely spiked out hair, and it seemed like the first several auditions I went on in LA, they all said they wanted me to come in with the spiky hair. So it's like strange hair kind of, yeah, it was kind of my thing for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, I figured the reason why you did that was probably because you were like, 30 playing 17 or something, and they wanted you to look like that,
There was some of that though. It's funny because on Wayne's World, I actually had long hair, long dark hair,
Mm-hmm.
and then they told me before we started, they said, "Oh, we're not going to have him have long hair, so you can cut it." So I cut it, and I got there on the first day of shooting, and they said, "Where's your long hair?" So on the first day of shooting Wayne's World, I had to go get a wig.
Oh.
Even though like a week before I had totally long hair, but anyway, miscommunication. But yes, hair was kind of my thing there for a while.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. So, going all the way back to the beginning, I mean, did you know when you were growing up that you wanted to be an actor?
Pretty much. My mom was a professional actress, and it's funny because my dad was a lawyer, my mom was an actress, and two of my brothers and one of my brothers, one of my sisters became lawyers, and I followed my mom's career. So yeah, from a pretty young age, and I started working professionally on stage when I was about 12.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was kind of, yeah, I was pretty much destined to do that.
Wow. Was there any movie stars that you idolized?
As a kid,
Yeah.
uh, wow, totally. Mainly comics. I mean, I was a big fan of physical comedy, so like the silent movie comedians like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and let me think. I mean, I really loved like the kind of crazy comedy movies like Some Like It Hot, and I mean, when I saw the Beatles do A Hard Day's Night, which was hysterical, I thought that was brilliant. But I mean, as in terms of real actors, it's like I remember seeing Laurence Olivier playing Richard III in the movie, and I thought that was awesome because actually, when I was 14, I did a production of Richard III with an actor named Anthony Zerbe,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
who was Mega Man and stuff like that, and.
Yep.
So yeah, I kind of had. I don't know that I had like a huge like acting hero, but I just I mean I loved. I mean
Yeah, no, that's good. Anthony Zerbe, yeah, he was a talented guy.
Sure was.
And you're from San Francisco, right?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Mateo.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, if I could have made a living in San Francisco, I probably would, because my family moved to San Diego when I was young, but I moved back. I moved back to San Francisco a couple different times. Once just because I wanted to be there, and once because I went to grad school there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a hard place to make a living. There isn't that much that gets filmed there, and there isn't actually that much theater even, and it's expensive, as you know.
Yep. Yeah, very expensive.
I have one brother who lives in Berkeley, and one who lives out near, sort of out in the Sunset. So yeah, the connection is still strong, though.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of theater, I mean, it's gotten a little bit better there. I mean, there's a lot of theater companies, especially on the peninsula and stuff. But in San Francisco, yeah, not that much.
Not that much. I mean, there's Berkeley Rep and there's ACT where I went. That's where I went to school. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know it's better on the peninsula. But I mean, I haven't been back in a while. I mean, I go down to San Diego at Christmas time because that's where a couple of my sisters live. But I haven't been in the Bay Area in too long. It's been a while.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. There's a lot of construction going on, a lot of noise, a lot of homeless people on the streets.
Yeah. No, sounds a little like well, it sounds a little like Toronto, except that in the winter you don't the homeless people tend to go into shelters, but the homeless go where the weather's better.
Oh yeah, especially over here in Reading, where I'm at now. Oh my God, there's homeless people all over the place in the summertime, but in the wintertime they disappear.
Right. Well, they go someplace warmer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when did you move to LA?
I moved to LA in 1985.
85.
Yeah.
And it.
And I moved there. I didn't plan on staying. I was doing this solo play that'd been written for me, and I had sort of an open-ended run at this little theater, and I figured I was going to head back up to San Francisco and try and do a play there. But within about a month, the people who became my managers in LA came and saw the play and sort of offered me a contract, and that sort of set the deal in motion.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty rare. I mean, I know a lot of people who and they do say if you're going to LA, try to come with something that people can see, because so many people go to LA to try and break in, and but even if you're doing a show, it's like there are so many little theaters in LA, and almost all of them are doing plays where people are trying to get agents.
Yeah.
And to actually get one, to actually get representation, I was pretty lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that you got to be on a short-lived sitcom with Burt Young and Corey Haim called Roomies.
Oh man, roomies. Yeah, I actually had a parking space at NBC Burbank for like 6 months. And Johnny Carson was filming down the hall, and it wasn't a very good show, but it was a heck of an experience just to be working there every week. I wasn't too upset at the time when it got canceled because I knew it wasn't very good, but then when the checks stopped coming, I got a little more upset. But yes, Corey Haim and Burt Young. Wow.
Yeah, that must have been great. I've heard Burt Young is great to work with.
He was so sweet, such a nice guy, and basically the character you see him play in everything, it's who he is. I mean, he is this sort of rough around the edges, but really nice guy from the New York area, and during like lunch as his exercise.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he kept his arms in shape. I mean, he's just such a regular guy, and he hadn't really done TV, let alone a sitcom before, so he was kind of in deep water with it too. So there was a real sense of, we were all, kind of in this together. And he tried to be a mentor for Corey, which was really nice because Corey's parents were in the middle of their divorce, and Corey was sort of stuck in the middle of it, and he wasn't a happy guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was all messed up by that point?
He was heading that way. I mean, at the time it just seemed like he just needed some good role models, but it got a lot worse after that.
Yeah, all the stories I've heard Corey Feldman say to them in the press and stuff. I don't even know how much of it's true, but some of it could be real.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I was close enough to some of the people who were really who it was really happening to, that you could see how people got swept up in things that were just totally out of control, because it was all just there and available, and the 80s were still pretty, self-destructive. And, I mean, I think things are a little calmer now, but at the time, it's like, if you're really young and, suddenly make a whole lot of money and you don't have, good, strong role models around you, it could be a nightmare, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fun for a while and then a nightmare later.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. I'm so glad my parents didn't let me do it, though.
It's nuts, and it's like I remember trying to get my mom, because San Diego is 2 hours from LA.
Right.
And when I was growing up, I so much wanted to go to LA and try and get in, do commercials or try and get in TV. And my mom was really smart. She said, you stay here and you can do theater, but you're gonna finish school, and once you're a little older, if you decide you want to go do that, you can. But because I was dying when I was 13 or something, I was just going, I know I could do it, but I was really lucky, that my parents, especially my mom, just said, maybe later, not right now. You're a little too young to deal with all that.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah, thank God you're very lucky for that.
I am, yeah.
One of my first memories of seeing you was when you were the gun dealer in Who's That Girl?
I really enjoyed that part, but that is an interesting story, because working with Madonna is a kind of a mixed blessing. She was about 2 hours late to set,
Mm-hmm.
and then she showed up, and she'd just broken up with Sean Penn.
Oh.
And the first thing she said to me was, "Not another Sean."
Oh, wow.
I thought, wow, we're off to a great start. And she's kind of bossed people around a lot, and it was kind of frustrating, a little stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a massive headache by the end of the first day. We were shooting. It took us 2 days to shoot that scene,
Mm-hmm.
which it shouldn't have taken that long. And the second day, I said, I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah.
And at one point, they were doing coverage on me, and she kept making little noises, and they said, Madonna, we need the track clean, because we need to get his dialogue clean. And she kept doing this and kept doing it. We had to keep doing it. And I finally looked at her and said, would you please shut up? And I think I was thinking, or maybe unconsciously thinking, if they fire me, they still have to pay me off. And it might be better than going on with this. But actually, she laughed, and we got along fine after that.
Huh. It sounds to me she respects a person who calls her out on her bullshit.
Well, and the fact is, I didn't, it's not like I really cared so much that, in that moment, if she liked me or not. So, but yeah, it's like I guess it's sort of like I talked to her like she was talking to everybody else.
Yeah.
And she's pretty tough on everybody. But anyway, yeah, it ended up being fine. And she actually, like, came into the makeup trailer when I was getting ready and played me, like, the rough tracks of the song, Who's That Girl?
Mm-hmm.
Like, before it was released. And it's like, suddenly it was like, okay, this is all right. But I really enjoyed doing that part after that. And that basically, the look I had in that movie is exactly how I looked in my solo play.
Oh wow, yeah, I love when like you first you go on that rapid delivery talking about the guns, right, and then in the next scene, Griffin Dunn barges in and you're both not wearing shirts and you both look down at your hairy chests.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's very funny. Griffin Dunn was actually really nice. I liked him a lot. I mean, we didn't really work much together, but just hanging out, he was really first rate kind of guy.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy. You know, he ended up directing and producing afterwards. I mean, at that time he was coming off of After Hours, you know, and
Right.
he didn't really make good decisions for roles, you know.
Yeah. But he was. I remember After Hours was so funny.
Yeah, it's one of the
Yeah.
best movies of the '80s, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was just like hysterical from beginning to end.
Yeah, it's a Scorsese movie too.
That's right. I'd forgotten that. Wow, that's right.
Yeah, like his only attempt at a comedy.
And it worked really good. I don't know why he didn't do more. Maybe it just wasn't his kind of thing.
Yeah, well, he was looking for a comeback because he had done The King of Comedy. It didn't make any money. And then he was about ready to shoot The Last Temptation of Christ. And then Paramount canceled it because they were getting, you know, death threats about making it.
Right.
And so then after he did After Hours and The Color of Money, he had clout again. And then Universal made The Last Temptation of Christ.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's funny. I thought King of Comedy was a great movie, but yeah, people didn't know what to do with it when it came out. I don't think.
Yeah, it went on to be like one of his cult films.
Yep.
Then you played a guy named Popeye in the In Crowd.
Yeah, actually, that was the first thing I did. That actually shot before Who's That Girl, but I think came out after. That was the first movie I did, and it's like, I got, flown first class to Philadelphia for 6 weeks to do this dancing movie, and it was like, I'd basically been in LA for less than a year, and it was like, it's not a great movie, but it was an amazing experience for someone, a year before hadn't done anything. But I got to hang out with Joey Panliano, who was incredible. He actually kind of helped me as a sort of a coach. He said, you want to work on your scenes or anything, we can just do that. And as busy as he was, he made the time, available for me to just, run lines and talk about scenes because I was kind of nervous. And he was just first-rate guy.
And you got to work with one of my favorite guests on the show, Jennifer Runyon.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer, yeah. Yes, indeed. Beautiful Jennifer Runyon. Yep.
One of the kindest and sweetest ladies in the world.
Absolutely. And she was then. She was just, just genuine, sweet person, which, you kind of, they kind of stand out in a, in a business that, people, are not always quite so nice and sometimes appear nice and then you find out otherwise later. But she was first rate. I liked her a lot.
Oh yeah, and every time she's on, I make her laugh out loud with my dirty sense of humor. I'll tell you.
Awesome. So she's got a good sense of humor too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, I interviewed her best friend, the actress Carrie Remsen, and she told me, Jennifer likes you a lot and thinks very highly of you because you make her laugh and you're so well informed about her career and stuff. And I teared up.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So the rest of the cast was great. Donovan Leitch and Paige Hanna and all them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have anything to do with Paige, but Donovan and I, or Dono, as he was known, I mean, we hung out a lot. And it's funny because this was that period of my life where I was considerably older than a lot of the people I was working with, but I just had kind of a young-looking face, whatever. Because Dono, see, I think I was 28 and he was 18, but I thought he was just a great guy, and we had a great time, and just hanging out in Philadelphia, and sort of it was just a really cool thing, and then there were all the lead dancers in it were all like Broadway dancers, and that was a whole amazing thing because as for both Donovan and I, it was like boot camp in terms of dancing, because I'd done some dancing and movement and stuff, but nothing like what they were asking us to do. And Donna was kind of the same way. And but these dancers were so great. Charlotte Dempois, who played my girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
who like took over one of the leads in Chicago for a long time on Broadway, but she would, we'd have these like dance rehearsals that would go on for like 6 hours, and it's grueling. It's really hard work. And then she would work with me. If I wanted to, if I was feeling uncertain, we'd work for another 2 hours on stuff, off the clock, whatever. But she was just that good a partner. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I loved that experience. Again, it wasn't a great movie, but the experience itself was. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's great. Yeah, I tell anybody, I say, if you haven't seen The In Crowd, just imagine John Waters' Hairspray if it came from a normal person.
It's true. That's exactly it. Yeah, same time period, same subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's great.
Then comes one of my all-time favorites. I can mention this movie to anyone and they know it. Ski Patrol.
Another joy. God, I love doing that. I love doing that. Well, first of all, I was a ski bum already.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's funny because a lot of the people in it hadn't skied before or anything, and they found it all kind of awkward. But it's like I wanted to ski on the mountains so much because we were in these great places in Utah to shoot, but they said, oh, insurance won't let you ski. And it's like, what are you talking about? I'm here. And so they said, okay, if you can ski the whole mountain with the head of the stunt team, and he says you're good to go, then you can. And so we did that. And so basically I would take the chairlift up to wherever we were filming and then ski home at the end of the day because I was able to do that. But probably the best friend I made in Los Angeles was Paul Feig, who was in that. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, and Paul and I we were sitting on the mountain at one point, and there was like a blizzard, so they couldn't shoot anything for a while. And one or the other of us made some sort of joking reference to a Lenny Bruce joke.
Yeah.
And who was someone I was really inspired by, as was Paul. And then we both started riffing on this stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with you. That's definitely. And we worked on, because we were both writing our own plays and stuff, and we worked on stuff together, and then, Paul, of course, his life completely changed.
Yeah.
With Freaks and Geeks. But who else? Oh, Leslie Jordan.
Oh, I love him.
He's hysterical.
Yeah, I still quote that line he says to you about being a couple sandwiches short of a picnic.
I was just going to tell you that myself, because that was the first time I'd ever heard that phrase. And he put that in the script. That wasn't in the script.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Leslie line. Yep, you sandwiches short of a picnic. Such a funny guy. And wow, Martin Mull and Ray Walston. Oh my God.
And of course, all the great comedians that are in it: George Lopez,
George, yep.
Steve Heitner.
Steve, yep.
T.K. Carter, Roger Rose, of course, the star.
Yep.
What about what's her name? What about what her what's her name? Yvette Napier.
Yes, Yvette Napier. Yeah.
Yeah, what was she like?
She was great. She was like, what was really good and good for her too is that she really was like one of the boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she could keep up with the, all of the kind of crazy humor and stuff. But she was actually, kind of right in there. A really nice person.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, to me, suicide is like the greatest character in the history of movies.
Uh, Thank you. I loved the whole thing and wearing the masks.
Yeah.
I could have, I was really sad when that, because it was just, the experience of doing it was so much fun. And Rich Carell, who directed it, became a real friend, and there was actually a day where he and I improvised a scene. I can't remember which scene it is now. I wish I could remember. But basically, the day was kind of finished early, and he said, I have this kind of a half thought out idea, and we just went up and shot. I wish I could remember it. I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just a really playful person directing the movie, so his energy kind of spread out all over the thing. In fact, at one point, he put me on. He said, "I'm gonna go for a ride on one of the snowmobiles. Hop on the back." And so and we rode up. And he said, "Okay, what I want to do is I want us to ride back down and load us up with a bunch of snowballs, and I'm gonna drive by everybody, and you just start firing at everybody."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did. We came barreling down to where the crew was, and we just pelted everyone with snowballs. And it's like, this is the director of the film.
Yeah.
Who's instigating this, mayhem. But yeah, that was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Yeah, Rich Carell, he played Richard on Leave It to Beaver when he was a kid.
That's right. That's right. I mean, major kid actor. And his dad was part of Amos and Andy on radio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Charles Carell, because Amos and Andy were played by two white guys, even though they were black characters.
Yeah.
On radio, and Rich's dad was that. So he was definitely showed his kid.
Yeah.
That was a good year because that finished, and then the audition happened for Back to the Future 3, like shortly thereafter.
Mm-hmm. When did you do? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, when did you do Class of 1999?
That was 88. Ski Patrol was 89, and Back to the Future was 89. Just in terms of when they shot.
Okay, yeah. What was Class of 1999 like?
For me, it was kind of weird because I got the gig like literally the night before I had to fly up to Seattle. They called and said, "You're playing this part," and I didn't even remember the audition because it's been a while. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I got up there and shot for a week, and didn't really get to know anybody too well because it was kind of all the scenes were packed into one period of this 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a weird one, and I had another crazy hair gig. But I don't really have a lot of memories about that. Other than when I can't remember his name, who played the teacher who killed me.
Was it Stacy Keach or Malcolm McDowell? I forget.
No, it was one of the other teachers, that sort of a big, muscly dude. Anyway, he was supposed to like snap my neck, and there's a way to do that where, like, me being the one who's getting their neck snapped, I control the turn, but he kept kind of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up with this wicked headache. And he kept really kind of half snapping
I saw it once years ago. I didn't think it was as good as Class of 1984. Was Mark Lester good to work with?
Yeah, he was. But like I said, the whole thing went by in such a hurry that, I don't really remember it that well. So, yeah, that one's a bit of
a blur. Yeah, here's a piece of trivia I bet you didn't know. That was Rose McGowan's first movie.
Really?
Yes, she plays an uncredited girl outside of Langford's office.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ha! Wow, truly had no idea.
Me neither. Yeah, I gotta see it again so I can see. Oh, that's Rose McGowan. Yeah.
Wow. I never heard that. Wow, that is some serious trivia.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get lucky in being in Back to the Future Part 3?
Well, it's really interesting because Lynn Griffin, my wife, was working at the theater in San Diego where we met at, and I was visiting her while she was working, and my agents called on like late in the afternoon and said, "You've got an audition with Robert Zemeckis tomorrow for Back to the Future Part 3." And I went, I didn't even know there was a Part 3. This was like the first I'd heard of it. And basically they said, yeah, because it was really late in the day, because they said, if you go to the back gate at Universal, they'll let you in, and then you go to this building and you grab a script. So it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm driving back up from San Diego. I get there around 10:30. I get to the gate. I get the script. I go home. I'm kind of nervous. I don't sleep too well. And I get up, and I've got kind of long hair, and it's kind of a mess. I look at myself in the mirror, and I go, I don't think I should do anything. I think I should look as scuzzy as I possibly can. And I was tired, and I was just sort of bleh. And I went in, and I read for the casting director, and then they had me stick around, and then they had me do it again with a couple other guys for Zemeckis, who was already on location doing Back to the Future 2, because they shot them back to back. And I did that, and I went away, and literally that afternoon, they said, that was a Friday, and they said, you fly up to Central California to Stockton on Monday.
Wow, up in Stockton.
I was like, really? And that was, again, it wasn't a big part, but I was there for like 2 months. And riding horses and shooting guns and looking like a badass and hanging out with the other buttheads who were just incredible guys. And Tom Wilson was just so easy to play with, despite his character. And
yeah.
And we were all in this little hotel in Sonora, and we're all a little cabin fevery, but we all had each other to sort of hang out with, and it was awesome. It was just awesome.
Yeah, the first Comic-Con I ever went to 2 years ago, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, and Leah Thompson was there. I met Leah Thompson. She's an absolute sweetheart. I have our photo op right by my bed. I cherish it.
Nice.
Michael was charging like $270 for an autograph for his stem cell research, and I was like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I can't.
Sure. Yeah.
And I didn't get to meet Christopher Lloyd, but I saw him. He's a lot taller in person than he is on screen.
Yeah, he's a tall fella. Yeah, and it's funny because someone I knew in the theater had gone to college with him, and I think I was already filming, but I talked to him on the phone, and he said Chris Lloyd's nickname in college was Fog.
Fog?
Fog. Yeah. He said, try saying that to him, see what he does. And it was great because I we were on the set, and I just said, "How you doing, Fogg?" And he looked at me, and he did sort of like a Jim, like, double take, or, Dr. Brown double take. Like, I haven't heard that game in years. And because it's interesting, because he was wonderful. He's such a good actor, but not really into small talk much. He sort of came in and did his work, but he's not that maturely interesting. And so we talked a bit about who my friend was and stuff like that. But he was, and it's interesting because Chris Lloyd could, like, if he put on a hat, some sunglasses, go into Sonora and go to a coffee shop, and no one would know who it was. Whereas Michael, there was nothing he could do. I mean, he's 5'4", and he's Michael J. Fox.
Right.
And at the time, it was like he literally couldn't do anything. They basically had him up in a house, away from the town. And the one time he came to a party that they were having at the hotel for us, and he just went crazy with this party. I think because he'd been, like, sort of holed up so much. I mean, that they basically had him, under house arrest almost, because he just, he couldn't go anywhere without getting, swarmed by people. And he had this one chance to go to a party, and he seriously partied, which was great. We played pool together, and we were both, like, way too drunk to be playing pool, and it was great. But it's kind of sweet and bittersweet, because it's like an accident that happened on that set may have been what triggered his Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And he was just, so, in a way, it's like that was the beginning of the end, or about that time was. And Zemeckis was great. Zemeckis was, we weren't really the focus, but he was always really generous with us, and, kept us involved in the process. And it's funny because he used a couple of different takes where things went wrong. Like, there's a shot near the end where we run away when Buford has, the shit's been poured on him, and he's getting arrested. And we run away, and one of the other buttheads, the only one who was wearing spurs, caught his spurs and took a, like, complete fall. And then, got himself up and continued running away. And that's the take Zemeckis used. Even though Mike, I can't remember Mike's last name, he was actually a rodeo rider. I mean, he was, like, the most accomplished, other than the stunt guys. I think he was kind of embarrassed that they used that take because, he's someone who was actually used to wearing spurs and stuff. But running out of that shot, he just caught his spurs together, and they locked his feet, and he went straight to the ground. But they used that take.
Wow. And it must be great doing that party scene with ZZ Top.
That was amazing. And it basically went from about whenever night fell, about 7, 8 o'clock, till about 5 in the morning. And it was just, with, everybody, all the extras, almost everyone in the movie was in that scene. And ZZ Top. It's like, this is, you go, this is when you go, God damn, making movies is insanely wonderful.
Yeah. Then you did a sequel to my favorite werewolf movie, Howling 6, The Freaks.
Yep.
How was that experience?
That was actually about, I got I swallowed them. Howling 6 was a great script, and it was low budget, and this young woman, Hope Brillo, was directing it. I don't think she got all the cast she would have liked because she didn't have much money, which was too bad because I remember reading the script and going, this is one of the best horror movies. Not even a horror movie, just sort of almost like a dark fairy tale.
Right.
And I loved the role, even though it was like 3 hours of makeup. every day. And then one day it was 8 hours of makeup because they had to do like my legs and my chest and my arms. So it was a long process. And the way they had my mouth rigged, I basically had to eat like liquid lunches.
Mm-hmm. You okay?
Yeah, I just swallowed some water. But they had this elastic that was glued to the side of my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and then wrapped behind my back and attached to the opposite shoulder. So it forced my mouth open on one side.
Yeah.
And then they put makeup all over it so you couldn't see it. And then I had all these crazy false teeth and stuff.
Ah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It kept me from being able to eat.
Yeah.
That was awkward. But I really liked that movie, and I loved that character because he was just sort of a sad character who, and someone who is, challenged by his physical appearance, and then, he's seduced into joining this freak show because, Parker, the guy who ran the freak show, said, here you'll belong. And it's like, for someone like that, it was a huge thing. And it was actually really one of my favorite things, even though they really shot it on a shoestring.
Mm-hmm. What about working with Michelle Matheson?
I had almost nothing to do with her. Almost everything I did was with Bruce Martin Payne,
Mm-hmm.
and why can't I think of his name? Brendan, who played the werewolf. I think Brendan Hughes.
I think so. Yeah.
But almost everything I did was with them and with the other freaks. So I mean, I may have seen Michelle once or twice because I think he takes her to the freak show and sees the performance that I did. So the only time I saw her, she seemed really sweet, but I had almost no contact with her.
Yeah, I'm interviewing her this month, and she seems pretty sweet. She's Deanna Lund's daughter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we just lost her a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I met her at a convention once. She was a sweet lady.
Oh, cool.
And then
Michelle would seem to be just absolutely, sort of along the same lines. I'm trying to think now. What I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Deanna Lund.
In crowd.
Jennifer Runyon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like Jennifer.
Yeah. And then, of course, the role you'll probably always be remembered for, Phil, in Wayne's World.
That was amazing. And I can't believe that, in LA, it's like, doing 3, 4, or 5 callbacks in auditions is sort of normal. And that was one audition. And it was basically Michael and me improvising, like walking around, and he's trying to sober me up. And we're just walking around this office, Paramount, while the other people are sitting there, and he's, he's trying to talk me down. And that was it. That was it. And then we went to work, and Michael, man, I haven't seen him in a long time. I mean, I worked with him in 54.
Yep.
Which shot up here. But that's the last time I saw him. But I thought he was just first-rate kind of guy. I mean, he was like, it wouldn't mean anything necessarily to you there, but Scarborough here is like it's kind of a lower rent suburb.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a regular guy from Scarborough is how I felt. I mean, he was so easy to work with, and he and I would bring guitars to set and hang out and jam. And his first agent was Lynn's mom.
Oh, nice.
So when he was a little boy in Toronto, teenager, my future wife's mother was his agent. So there was all that connection, and he was just, he was just first grade. I don't know, what he's like now because I haven't seen him in so long. But for someone who was already doing so well, I found it really refreshing that he was as easy as he was to work with.
Yeah. Dana Carvey, his dad was one of my dad's business teachers in high school.
You're kidding?
No.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, my dad told me his father was kind of mean. He didn't have a sense of humor at all. And I've heard Dana say in interviews that his father was very comparable to Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you can see why, Dana's like developing his sense of humor. It's like if that's what you're living with, having a good sense of humor is a good defense, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you know if Dana was an only child?
Really?
I don't know.
I think he has a sister, but I could be wrong. I think he has a sister at least.
Yeah. I was just curious, but
yeah,
and it's so talented, and it all got kind of curtailed for a while there, and I don't know how much he's doing now, but
Oh, I can tell you, he's doing stand-up comedy around the world. I'm friends with a comedian that's opening for him a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's doing good. He actually had a reality show that I auditioned for and I didn't get a couple years ago. He was doing a reality show where he's teaching comedians who do impressions to be a better impressionist. And now I'm not an impressionist per se, but I can do impressions of celebrities. And so I made an audition video, and it was a lot of fun. I have it on YouTube, but I didn't get in. It got canceled pretty quick too.
Yeah, because I didn't even hear about it, but I mean, yeah, his impressions were extraordinary. There was a day when I don't know why this happened. We were near the end of shooting, but the governor of Texas at that time was, and anyways, the last time they had a Democrat in the governor's seat in Texas, and she came and visited the set for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had like heavy security around her and stuff like that. And Dana was going up to these like Secret Service guys and doing his George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
His George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
He didn't crack a smile, but the rest of us were dying. But I mean, and it's like he could do it. I mean, hours and hours at work there, but it's like he would be like popping in and out with different voices. It's like truly like human comedy machine. And then he'd go and practice his drums in the practice room at lunch, and just go, what can't you do, man?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Go ahead.
That was an extraordinary experience, and it's funny because when I got the script and saw the scene, the big Bohemian Rhapsody scene.
Yeah.
I sort of freaked out because I used to do that with my older brother in my beat-up Vega wagon or whatever it was. It was not quite the AMC Pacer, but sort of the same kind of thing. And riding around singing to Bohemian Rhapsody in the car, and then it's like, oh my God, we're doing that scene. And it was totally cool.
Yeah, you do something in this movie that every time I see it, I just howl. Throughout the entire movie, you're pretty stone faced, pretty drunk and everything, with the exception of the scene where you're working as a mechanic,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Well, the one part that just has me howling when you guys sneak into the studio to steal the equipment, and then Kurt Fuller catches you guys.
Right.
I love it when. After Dana Carvey takes the flashlight from him and tells him it's going to be all right. He looks at you guys and says hi, and then you're all like, "Hey, how's it going?" And the smile you do just is priceless.
Well, I don't even remember. I'll have to ask about that again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, because you're so stone faced throughout the movie, but that just kills me.
And then there's just a generous smile. Yeah, it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I didn't like about the second one, other than the fact that they didn't ask you back?
Uh,
The fact that they decided not to make Terry gay anymore.
yeah, but his "I love you, man," you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad. Yeah. The story I heard at the time was because at one point I was told I was doing it, and then because at one point the inside scuttlebutt was that Dana wasn't going to do the second one,
Huh.
and then within a month of when they were to start shooting, he said he wanted to do it. So they basically had to shelve the script and rewrite the script so that it was for Wayne and Garth, because it was going to be just Wayne. And they had to kind of rewrite it in a hurry, which probably wasn't much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, what an amazing thing. I mean, from a like a 2-minute sketch on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it changed the culture, you know.
Yeah, it's really crazy the effect the movie had, and still has. I mean, I did an interview for Rolling Stone a year or so ago,
Mm-hmm.
basically talking about how the Bohemian Rhapsody scene and then the music video they did for that basically put Queen and that song back into the charts. I forget how many years after that album came out. Like, I mean, the album came out in the mid-'70s, and the movie came out in '90. But they said it was, no one had ever seen a song rebound so much because of its appearance in the movie. And so Rolling Stone did a whole thing on that. And yeah, it's funny because, at the time you're thinking, this is really funny, and everyone's, really into it. You never think it's going to be like this cultural touchstone,
Yeah, because the last Saturday Night Live movie before that was the Blues Brothers, and that movie made money, and that became a very quotable movie that people quoted throughout the '80s. But this movie, this movie was just exploded, and it enabled Lauren to make more Saturday Night Live movies and produce them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like, suddenly it was like, even though they didn't all work, it just sort of, gave him, like, free reign to try. And it's funny, I remember, because I didn't talk to Lauren very much, but I talked to him, I remember one day, he asked me something about how the day was going, and I answered back, and then he looked at me and said, "Don't ever talk to me." And it was it was a total bit, but it was like it was just like horrible, like dark sense of humor. And I also remember that it was amazing because that movie had to wrap on time, which, they always want movies to wrap on time, but
Right.
they usually don't. And especially with a first-time director, or first-time feature director. But we literally were filming up to like the Tuesday of what would, that Saturday would be the first Saturday Night Live for the season. Because basically they did the movie in a hiatus. And we came right up against, like, but it's like we literally couldn't go any further. It's like we would have had to wait a year to reshoot if stuff still needed to be done, because they were going to be like, in New York,
Mm-hmm.
working every week on the show. So that added a bit of pressure, but they did it.
Yeah. Wow. So when did you and Lynn leave LA?
So when or why?
Or both?
We left in '96, and part of the reason was because Lenny was in and out of LA. She was doing a lot of theater around the country, and still doing TV and stuff, but she never really liked being in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mind it so much because after starting out in San Francisco, my family moved to San Diego, and the culture was more or less the same, other than LA just being bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of it. She was kind of homesick for Canada, and she was continuing to work up here. She was flying back and forth doing stuff there and coming back to LA, and she finally said, I kind of want to go home. And then I just started burning out on living in LA. Just, the distances to get anywhere. And I loved it when I was working. I loved being there because it really is a company town. But when I wasn't working, it's like it took so long to get anywhere. And then, like, the Rodney King riots happened.
Yeah.
And there was, the city was on lockdown. Like, there was curfew at night. You could smell the smoke from fires. And there were some big earthquakes, and there was the O.J. Simpson trial, and it was kind of a dark time in L.A. And like Lenny was walking up, we're in Beechwood Canyon, which is sort of the canyon that leads up to where the Hollywood sign is.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just walking up the street to go to the store, and a cop actually stopped her and asked her why she was walking.
Huh.
Like, it was suspicious that someone in a nice neighborhood would be walking. And she said, I'm just walking to the store. And it's like, everyone assumes you're, always going to be driving. And so I kind of was like, 10 years in L.A., maybe that's enough. And when we moved here, we thought, well, maybe we'll go back. But I really love Toronto in particular. The people are great. For a big city, people are a lot nicer than any other big city in North America that I've ever been in. And, we continue to work here, and I've gotten used to winters, which I wasn't when I moved here. But, yeah, we moved in 96.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you two both seem happy in Canada. You both get to work in theater and film whenever you can. I enjoyed Lynn's performance in Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, it's not a big role, but it's like a sort of things really turn on that moment when, the woman lets herself be burned up in her house, and they keep showing the image of her.
Yeah.
But that was very cool. And we've both been doing episodic TV up here, and we've both done series, TV series up here, and I still have my family in the States, and I miss like authentic Mexican food a lot.
Yeah.
But it's doing better up here. It's like you can actually find real Mexican food. It's just it costs 3 times as much, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pacific Ocean, Mexican food, and my family. That's probably the things I miss most about California. But it's like I think if I could work, if I could work in LA and be living somewhere else, I think I would consider it again. But I sort of had my time in the midst of the whole crazy scene of LA and Hollywood. And I loved it. It was totally the perfect time in my life to be there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy time at that time. With the Sunset Strip. Oh my God, it was insane from what I've been told.
Oh yeah, Club Lingerie and the Roxy and all that stuff. Yeah, it was.
Comedy Store.
Comedy Store. Yep. And it was a very, very crazy time, but at the time it just seemed like, well, this is just the way it is. But, yeah, I mean, the 80s and early 90s, it was a pretty heady time.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any upcoming projects you want to plug?
There's some things in the works, but I don't really, not really in a position to talk about.
Yeah.
So I won't. Because the non-disclosure agreement is such a big thing nowadays, and there are projects now where you basically until things are actually on the air, it's like you're not even allowed to talk about them.
Of course, yeah, because you sign contracts.
On the set or anything, yeah.
Yeah, sign contracts and all that. I understand.
So,
Well, Sean, I thank you so much that.
oh man, it's been a pleasure, totally a pleasure. Linny is fighting a cold today, so I don't know if she's going to be up to doing a chat. I know you guys were talking about maybe doing one, but I think she's kind of under the weather.
Okay, if she wants to do it, maybe later in the week or next week or whatever, I'm down.
All right, I will have her get in touch with you.
Awesome. Yeah, Sean, this was so great. Thank you so much.
It's been awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Sean Gregory Sullivan. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Sean. You tell really great stories about being on set and everything. Probably more than any guest I've had on. And I've had a lot of great guests tell great stories, but those were very, very informed and very forthcoming. You were very forthcoming with your stories, and I appreciate that, Sean. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.